This is the second session here. Also going to be running about half an hour. We're going to take questions in the chat. Panelists, you're welcome to ask each other questions as well. This is kind of a free-flowing conversation about anything lead gen, email marketing, cold outreach. Just to kind of give everybody some context, we have Vuk with us again, who everybody should already be familiar with because we're just with him for half an hour. But if you're just joining us now, he's the head of growth at Lemlist. Martin, former / current product manager, currently working on prospect role. He's worked on email campaigns with volumes up to over 500,000 on an annual basis, and also just done all sorts of stuff with email and lead generation. We have Sukhpal here, who's from 3 Studio, cold email lead gen for dev shops. Matt, who will be back with us shortly, is the founder and director of the Different Hunger blog and Different Hunger Creative. He's served well over 200 clients, and according to his LinkedIn, has driven over $1 billion in value for those clients. And then we have with us Michael from Cherry Leads, also a lead generation outfit.
Some crew.
Guys who are watching have questions, please drop them in the chat as well. And otherwise, like I said, panelists, you're free to cross talk. In fact, it's encouraged. It makes it more exciting. Cool. Welcome back, Matt. I introduced you while you were away, so the context has been provided.
All right, cool. Can you see and hear me?
Maybe. Yes.
All right. What's up, guys?
Coming in loud and clear.
Great.
Hello. So maybe to kick things off, how do you guys think about scaling your outreach campaigns? There's a balance to be struck between reaching out to a lot of people and personalizing these emails. How do you make that work at scale?
Well, I can maybe start on my end. That was one question that I prepared. That was the only question that I prepared also for Vuk. So my story goes something like this. I've been in lead generation in the past since I started my professional experience as a product manager. And I've been a lot around sales guys, and outreach was one of my things that I did. One of my recent experience was outreaching to massive list of potential clients that we used, but we used a separate tool for it, not something sophisticated as Lemlist is, right? And our volumes were close to 50,000 per month. So of course that severely offended open rates, but overall down the pipeline we got a pretty good yield. Plus we have to understand, as higher the pricing of the tool you're selling, the higher the yield, right? And ours was pretty high. Ours was pretty high. So the question for Vuk would be now that you're starting to onboarding those bigger enterprise clients, probably like Zendesk, I heard is one of them. How do they actually scale these things? Because when it comes to deliverability and using Lemlist, the volumes are probably way lower, but scaling needs to come with more sophisticated way that includes potentially different domains that you use, multiple accounts or servers in the back end, right? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, great topic. I really like to talk about this topic. So yeah, I think it depends. So my first thing is one of my previous mentors taught me is everything works. So the ball, if you give it to Luca, he will make millions from it. If you give it to me, I probably won't make a single dollar. So I guess every single strategy channel can work if you do it the right way. I'm not a fan of mass emailing. I've done it in the past. I've been in startups. I never worked for an enterprise, to be honest. But there are a couple of factors that influence the success of those campaigns. Like if you have a cool product, it makes it easier. But if you have a product that's a little bit maybe tougher to explain, not as sexy or something like this, if the audience is off, usually doesn't work. The reason why they fail is because those lists are not qualified. And I'm a big fan of qualifying lists. So I guess this is the factor number one. Mass emailing can work. It will work probably in the long run with the longer pipelines, more steps, and more follow-ups and what have you. And you definitely need a different domain for that, because it will have a negative effect on your domain reputation. But I guess it's the same thing for even smaller teams. Like for now, our sales team is getting bigger and bigger, I think, every week. Companies, I have these talks with some of our users. They have a question of whether a second domain, when they cross like 5+ people in a sales team, maybe a second domain is not a bad idea. And it's not a bad idea just because it's a safe road. I would say it's, if you screw it up, you always have a backup plan. The only trick with that is the more easier it will be to have a second domain, because sometimes people lemlist.co and they know it's a lemlist.com, they might think it's a scam. They might think something is off. But if they know, Martin or Guillaume or Vuk or somebody like this, and the email is spot on, good. So I would say mass email, not a fan. If I can conclude the answer, I can give a conclusion. Yeah. Not a fan. I would focus on more targeted campaigns. I would focus on multi-channel stuff. I would really focus on, connecting with people. We did a webinar with Tony Hughes, who does a lot of enterprise selling. He had a brilliant insights that I borrowed in my practices as well. So I would prioritize targeted outreach, and if it's a thing of multiple steps, go multi-channel, go on cold calling, go on automating your workflows as much as you can, and mass emailing and have a huge list. Definitely have a second domain, definitely take all the precautions, but deliverability will never be as good. If I tell something, just remind me.
And if I could follow up on that, what volume do you think, after what volume does the deliverability start going down a little bit? Is it like 1,000 emails per day? Like what's the number you would want to put at?
It's difficult to put a number, because I've seen recently that even if you send like 200 emails a day, like 5 days a week, and everybody in the company does the same, and the game will depend on a couple of factors. Like if you did the technical side of things, custom tracking domain and everything, that's perfect. But the engagement, bounces, complaints, validity of emails, responses that you get, and so forth and so on, will either speed up or lower deliverability components. So it's really difficult to put a number on it. I think email providers are getting sophisticated as well at the same time. So I would reverse engineer maybe your question in, emails per day. We have internal conversations that even in some cases is high, but 100 emails a day is an optimal number. Like I don't understand the rush. Like if I can convert 50 people out of a 100 list, and on the other side I send like 5,000 emails and convert 110, I would still choose the first one.
Yeah. I think it comes down to, and to your point, comes down to the conversion rate rather than the volume that you're sending out. If the volume you're sending out, if you're sending out 5,000 a day, for example, and your conversion rate is 0.001 versus if you're sending 100 emails and your conversion rate is 15%, of course, less work and more conversion, that's a better option to go for. And I think in your webinar, you actually explained the personalized email or personalized line part of it, which takes a lot of time if you're doing 10,000 emails, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can always simplify it and do a little less personalization. But on the other hand, like I like having huge lists. I just don't like sending a lot of emails fast.
Right.
So it's like if I'm recording a podcast, and I would prefer having 50 episodes in advance, so I don't get into the rush of doing it in the middle of the week. As we grew, I learned that project management is a science I have yet to conquer and saving time. But it's the same analogy. And if you do it like podcast for next week, and next week, and next week, you get into that momentum of doing things in a way that you're okay, but not really, you don't feel like Luka Doncic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important to differentiate what is your target group, right? And what is your purpose that you try to achieve with that email list. So if you are reaching out to podcast hosters, they're small quantities for sure. And if you're reaching out to potential clients that might convert to customers, of course, the range is much wider. Now, if you're looking for, I don't know, cooks on LinkedIn, this target will be small, but, there's a lot of cooks in the world. But if you're looking for growth managers on LinkedIn, there's going to be tons of them. So my personal experience, you have to start there to identify what is your total addressable market, as investors like to hear. And as long as you have targeted group that is huge, you could consider mass mailing, but you have to be really careful with it, especially with personalization and the tools you're using, and make sure that the deliverability is sorted out with email verifications or any other tools that you can use for example, for winding up the emails and so on.
Yeah. You have also the nurturing stuff. You can combine, do some steps before.
Exactly.
Contact, nurture maybe, and then targeted outreach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And thanks, guys. Just like to add that I kind of think about that question of, I think about topic in terms of you can either go fishing or you can go spearfishing, right? And obviously spearfishing is more work, but at the end of the day, you're only a few shots to get the fish, right? And I think part of, or at least one of the biggest problems I think in this space of outreach, prospecting, etc., is the mass outreach, mass spam, very general, generic blasts. Because again, yes, you're going to get. At the same time, you're going to damage your emails. You're going to, and more importantly, you're going to damage brand image and reputation if you're sending thousands of emails to some random person that maybe is not a very targeted lead, right? So what we've done recently that's been is for very high value target clients, we'll identify a list of 50 to 100 people, kind of like Vuk was sharing with tiramisu approach. And we'll spend, we'll have a VA spend an hour or two going through and grabbing very personal anecdotes that you can then insert into the campaign. Recently we send out 50 emails and we booked 5 appointments in 1 to 2 weeks, right? So it's it's a 10% rate to an appointment, right? So obviously you can't get that at scale, but I think finding a balance between the two is important.
Absolutely. And here again, the pricing comes into play. So if you do that kind of outreach, if you sell a product for $20, probably it will not pay off. But if you if you look for clients with higher volume, then definitely spear hunting is better approach.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really good point, because we're doing basically all campaigns for $5K and up per year deal sizes. So higher ticket, not as much lower ticket SaaS, but yeah, that's very important to mention as well.
How much does it cost
on the topic
to
of
run a spear phishing campaign or any warm cold email? At what price point does it make sense to do cold outreach versus other kinds of marketing?
That depends. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, sorry. You cut of spear phishing, the sort of personal approach versus the mass outreach approach.
Exactly. What's a typical if you've got $1,000 to spend or $100 to spend, how much should you expect to spend to run a good cold email campaign? What kind of conversions should you get? And then based on that, like how expensive does the thing you're selling need to be in order to make that make sense?
Good question. I mean, the interesting thing that I found was if you are doing, like, let's say you're sending out 50 emails to very targeted leads and very personal message, you don't need, no offense, Vuk, but you don't need Lemlist, right? Like you can just use your personal email, right? Like you don't need any software. And so the only cost is one, creating copy, and then two, performing the research to insert that research into. And so, you know, end to end, you're looking at anywhere from like 1 to maybe 4 hours maximum. Yeah, you know, that cost per hour could be anywhere from $3 to $10. Versus setting up a bunch of email accounts and domains, et cetera, which can add up, right? So, you know, ironically, that sort of touch approach is actually less expensive. And so it really can work, you know, at any price point. But I mean, in terms of like, again, what we're doing is usually at least 5 to 10K per year deal sizes. But, you know, for the personal outreach, we would be looking at even higher deal sizes because, again, they're much more desirable prospects that we're actually spending time to research, right? But yeah, it's funny that, you know, the costs are actually far lower than the mass approach.
Yeah, what I wanted to add is
go for it.
Sorry. What I wanted to add before, it's an important part for consideration is here to understand at which stage your company is, right? We have to listen to audience. This is indie hackers, in the worldwide community. A lot of people are in the very early stages where you potentially are just validating the idea, or you're already on the next step. But me as a solo founder, soon to be a co-founder, hopefully, I have to invest my own time. So I look for ways that will, you know, be automated. So a lot of manual work actually takes time away that I can't put somewhere else what would be more important. So in my case, for example, using Lemlist is one of the great tools that solves that pain, right? Now, I know, because from my personal experience from the past, I can use these automated tools to scale this. So I had this problem of where to find emails and people that I'm targeting. And that's why I came up with this prospect role solution that actually automates the search of people that you're targeting and their role-based personas. So for example, if I'm looking for product managers coming from Zurich, I'll click OK, it will generate a list with business emails and company phone numbers, so I can use it in any kind of outreach. Now, the only thing I have to do if I want to really be good at outreach, I need to personalize the content, so tiramisus, that I will add into this Lemlist campaign and then send it out in order to work. I would say whatever the result is, it's a perfect experiment for every founder to go through to experience this kind of outreach and to see how it works. And if you put it on the list of customer acquisition costs that come with outreach, I would say is one of the top ones. So if we do holistic overview, the cheapest way to acquire a customer is referral. So asking someone to refer you to another customer. The second one is organic outreach. That's something that Vuk can probably talk way more about it since they have actual experience, but it takes work, right? And the third one then I would say is email marketing. If you are able to really perfect it in a way that delivers results so that your open rates are good, reply copy is good, then you get replies, and especially your targeting is good. If you target the right people with proper data, then you know things can be potentially automated for you as well. Doesn't work for everyone, but in our case, we generated, I will say, not to disclose too much, almost 50% of opportunities came from cold email outreach. And just to give you a small glance, the company revenue for 2020 was 110 million. So it can be perfected, and I think Lemlist will realize that very soon with enterprise clients now.
one thing I wanted to bring up quickly was if you're gonna go towards like personalization, it's good to make sure. Like for me, there seems to be like a
Yeah,
pipeline.
I guess I can
get the
only
lead,
add one thing.
Oh, was I muted?
No, no.
I think Anthony's muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, weird. Anyway. Oh, I just wanted to say that like it's kind of if you're gonna go towards like personalization, it's good to like go all the way. And what I mean is like, you know, originally we had these issues where we would pay for a first line for someone, and then like the email we got from like, you know, like a lead finder or something was bunk. So we started actually like paying someone on Upwork to get leads for us, because it's just so annoying when you have all this set up for someone and then you can't send them an email. It's like, well, you know, it's expensive to go through and find the little thing. And I really hate Excel personally, which makes this difficult, which is why I like to outsource it. That was just my thought.
Do you guys have thoughts on B2c Outreach? So Habib in the chat is working on a habit tracker tool. He's targeting consumers. Do you still use cold outreach for, or are you looking towards other channels? And if so, which?
Good question. I wasn't in B2C that much, to be honest, to give you the you know, the answer from the trenches. I've been in B2C like first 2 years, but I do have some sort of a hobby, let's call it like this. It's wine. So I have a wine blog, and I, you know, during the weekends I do some little stuff, but my outreach is usually through Instagram.
You like Gary V.
Yeah, exactly. But I knew, I mean, it made sense just because everybody is there that I wanted to connect with, and nobody has that big of a profile, so they never see my DM, you know. So I guess in B2C, I can't really give you something that I've tested myself, but what makes sense is I would analyze the industry, and I've seen companies do wonders with Instagram. I'm seeing some candle business that I'm following on TikTok that's doing really cool work, because the algorithm is kind of similar. You can draw comparisons in terms of organic outcomes that you can drive. But I think email would work as well. So I've emailed a couple of wineries for some, you know, giveaways or things like that. But it wasn't directed, like it wasn't an email towards a customer. So that's why I said, like, I can't really give you something I tested myself. But emails, in terms of email marketing and lead nurturing, I did run some campaigns for cosmetics and e-commerce websites in the past. Different kinds of email strategy, obviously, but it works. I've driven revenue. It was just that newsletter for e-commerce was really really catchy. It was really connected to the content. And for me, somebody else was getting people within the funnel, so I wasn't doing that stuff. But in terms of emails, we turned it into the biggest revenue channel after SEO. So it can work. It just depends on the product, the industry, the traits, where they at, and how much, you know, you can use. Like, I think Gary Vee is, since we mentioned it, that 1:37 p.m. Like, what's the name of his Instagram entrepreneurship account? I think this is a good storytelling lesson. This is exactly what I mean. So if you take kind of like a catchy topic and then tell stories, so you get that virality factor a lot. So those are some of the things that comes to my mind for B2C, but I haven't been in B2C for a long time.
Yeah, for my last startup that I was working on, they were actually B2C, but I think B2C cold emailing doesn't work that great because of the spamming laws, right? That we all know about them, and it also depends on the location you're in. I think there's a CAN spam. That's a law you have to be very careful of. You can't just grab someone's personal email, scrape them from somewhere, and just start pitching them the same way you can do for B2B. That being said, though, I think you brought up a great point, is if you have a landing page where you're collecting emails, now those people have opted in. Now you can start sending them emails, sending them little knowledge bombs. Step one, this is how you should do, this is how you track your habits in this app. Step number two, you send another email 2 days later, and you build up on that to the offer maybe at the end. That's number one way you can use probably emailing for B2C. Another way to do it is you don't have to email directly to the customer. Maybe you can, again, you can email the podcasters. If the podcaster loves your tool, you're doing a B2B to the podcaster. The podcaster loves your product. They talk about it on their channel. Now you're getting like you're reaching their customers, right? And so that's a way to do it as well. You're using cold emailing still, but you're not going directly to the customer. You're going through the channel. And depending on how you pick your podcast channel, you pre-qualify the audience. There's a certain type of audience that listens to Indie Hacker Worldwide podcasts, and so now if your target is those kind of customers, you have an audience ready to go, and you can email the podcaster, giving them a pitch, just like Vuk mentioned from Lemlist, and if they like it, you now have 10,000 people now listening to your product.
Yeah, and to Artem's point, I think I just saw his comment. You can cold email influencers for sure. Everybody who left an email on their Instagram or whatever. This is a way to do it by email. All good points.
But yeah, a very good point about GDPR and all the laws that come with it. It's fair to say, I think, that you do have to be careful in some cases. But there are options to leverage this cold email in a way that doesn't affect you much. I just posted a link there. I found this information from a competitor product. So in which cases in EU, for which country specifically, for example, you can do outreach without feeling like spammer. And as long as you are focusing on role-specific targeted personas, things are okay. But not in all countries, unfortunately. Now, if you're using an automated way of outreach, I'm not sure if this applies to, personal sending of email, like from your Gmail, but that's something we need an expert for to confirm or deny.
Yeah, and I to add like one more point. I have a friend who has I don't know dogs that much, but one special breed, a small dog, some kind of dog in any way. He built the community first, but the community was really because the owners of those dogs are really specific, according to him at least, and the conversations that happen are really specific. So he did it kind of like Nathan Latka way of creating the distribution channel first, and he had like 10K people in it, all obsessed fans of that dog, and he turned it into I think it was an e-commerce shop or something like that, specific products. And once he felt confident that that group is, good and everything, he found other owners and started organizing some battles, some, fun and everything. So we kind of reverse engineered it, distribution first. Once the distribution was set, go and pitch the product.
Vuk, I'm really happy that you mentioned the community first. You guys have a huge one, which is an amazing success as well. I'm happy to announce that Prosper Grow also launched community last week, so I started my first step. I will drop you a link, so if you feel like supporting us, join the Facebook group. But most importantly, that comes really good together, I would say, is we already have 1,700 registered users for this Chrome extension that we launched for prospecting people, right? Now, I realized I could use those people to convert them into community members, right? If I send them a basic newsletter campaign, the open rate will probably be 20%. So I said, why not try this with Lemlist, right? So I'm putting in now people into Lemlist, 100 by 100. I'm testing the campaigns, and I realized that open rate, of course, is higher, close to 50%, at least for those that have active accounts. and conversion rate is much better. So by now, after a few days, I have 50 members, and hopefully more will come. So it's one good use case that actually connects Lemlist and us.
Just join.
Yeah, just joined.
Thank you. We don't have much content yet. I'll start writing blogs, but it's so painful for me to put content out there. So I would say having someone like Vuk on the team, it's probably a great pleasure.
Awesome, guys. We're at time already. That flew. Thanks again for being a part of this. So the last half an hour be like open networking. It's a really good chance to meet some of the other attendees, maybe some of the panelists as well will be in there. It's already live, and you can see on the left, it says networking now. Final updates, yeah, so after this event, if you're not in the Slack group already, I'll send you an invite to join the Indie Worldwide Slack. All these events get posted there first thing. Also gonna include the recordings from these sessions as soon as they're processed. And we'll send the slides as well, and some links back to these guys too, so that you can find them on LinkedIn or Twitter, or hire them to run your lead gen if you need that too. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully meet up with some of you one-to-one in the networking, and the next event is going to be in about 2 weeks. It'll be the general meetup, and then 2 weeks after that we'll have another one of these webinars, topic to be decided. So definitely post in the Slack if there's things you're interested in learning about, and we'll try to find some speakers as interesting as these guys to teach us some more stuff. Cool. Yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you around. Thank you so much, Luke, Vuk, Martin, Michael, Matt.
Thank you for the invitation.
Hopefully we get you guys back.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, this
honestly,
is great.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Let's connect on LinkedIn for sure, and we'll see each other down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody in the panel in the chat, feel free to post your LinkedIn's, Twitters, and stuff in the event chat, and we can get some incestual social media following going on here.
Yeah, LinkedIn, that would be awesome. Obviously, we got. What is it called again? Right.
What, Matt?
Yeah, I was saying we could do like a manual version of the LemPod in your Slack group if you're down.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great way to help each other out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Martin, we got to boost your content when you're posting, right?
That would be fantastic. I would be very grateful.
Cool.
Sweet.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah, if you guys have time, head over to the networking and meet some
Okay.
cool folks.
See you there.
A lot of the people watching could just as well be in this panel, so they're definitely worth meeting.
Cool.
See you guys.
All right. Bye, guys.